Thank you guys for tuning into the Boots Sports Show. I'm your host, Uncle Boots, and today we will talk about the Dallas Cowboys 2013 draft. And we will go over each draft pick. I don't do draft grades because I think it's real premature, but we will talk about the pluses and minuses of the Dallas Cowboy draft. As you know, if you followed the draft, there was a lot of controversy surrounding the Dallas Cowboys with the first pick, especially. So there was some controversy. Dallas was being talked about pretty much in negative fashion. We'll talk about those comments, try to straighten a lot of this stuff out, and see if we can. I will admit I had to go back and rewatch film because I really wanted to make sure that I had a very good assessment on a lot of the players that we selected, especially once you start getting around the later picks, So I went back, I had to rewatch the Senior Bowl about 3 or 4 times. I also went back and watched just anything I could find, any plays, any kind of coverage on most of the players, even if it was a highlighted player from another team playing them and it wasn't necessarily this. So there's a lot of different ways you can get a lot of different things versus Gavin Escobar versus Boise, instead of just looking at his highlight tape. So we looked at a lot of different things here on the Boot Sports Show. Any comments, any suggestions, email bootsports@yahoo.com. To go over our first pick, which we traded down from the pick number 18. And, when you watched the draft and you saw how it started to unfold, we talked about this. Your boy Uncle Boots here talked about how we felt, even though most of the media felt that, the guards were going to be there. We would be able to get a Sheldon Richardson. We were going to be able to get a guard, whether it be Cooper or Warmack. I told you guys here on the show. I mean, those guys weren't going to be there. And most mock drafts, Josh Ellis from the Dallas used to be a member of the Dallas Cowboys website, a beat writer there. We got into a little bit of a battle on Twitter, and then he mysteriously didn't want to answer my feedback anymore because he felt that the guards would be there. He said, matter of fact, not only one of the guards in Warmack, but he felt Warmack and Cooper would both be there for the Dallas Cowboys at pick 18. So we got into that, and I told him how I didn't think they were getting out of 10 or 11, either one of them. But so anyway, the draft went the way I thought it would go. I was not shocked when everybody was off the board. I wasn't shocked on the run of guards and tackles. I had Fluker. We did the mock draft here for you. I had Fluker going at pick 11. So I wasn't shocked at all when it went the way that it went. I felt like we were gonna have a selection of a guy like Sly Williams or the kid from Florida State, Bjorn Werner, and I would have loved that pick. But the Cowboys traded down from 18 to 31 and selected Travis Frederick, the guard/center from Wisconsin. So, of course, when this selection, and it wasn't the selection, it was the spot for the selection. It was when we took him at this spot, I had to go rewatch a lot of film on him because I had watched Monty Ball because I believed that Monty Ball would have been a very good back for the Cowboys, and I think the Cowboys were going to try to get Ball at some point and just couldn't pull a trigger on it. But when I watched Monty Ball, I couldn't help but notice this kid. And I watched Monty Ball the day of and the day before the draft, and then that's what kind of led me to start looking at their offensive linemen, the Wisconsin offensive linemen, because they're so dominant. And I was in love with a kid, Gabe Karimi, a few years ago when he came out of the draft. I thought he'd be a good tackle. So I really was interested to see what this Travis Frederick kid did. So I did watch a ton of everything that you could find on him. Every play. I watched him play against Jordan Hill. I watched him dominate Jordan Hill for the entire game against Penn State. I watched him against Ohio State. I watched him play. And let me tell you something. I know it's not a popular pick. I know there was controversy. Dallas could have traded down. This kid had a 3rd-round grade. Mike Mayock on NFL Network said that this kid had a 3rd-round grade. People were saying that I think what happened though, because the next day people started saying different things about Travis Frederick. I think a lot of other people went back and said, "Let me see what the Cowboys saw." And I think they went back. Brian Billick said he thought it was a good pick. It was exactly what the Cowboys needed. So a lot of guys probably went back and watched film and were very impressed. The one thing I will tell you, don't just look at, go look at Jordan Hill's versus Ohio State. Don't just look at, Travis Frederick's highlights, because that doesn't show you a lot of his game. Go watch full, complete games, like every play of his game. Even if you just watch the offense versus the defense, and you don't, that's fine. But this kid, one of the most impressive things about him is he dominates every single snap. He never took one step backwards, and that was evident. I mean, this kid, they say he's a 700-pound bench press guy, 700-plus pound bench press guy. I'm sorry, squat guy, not bench press. He's a 700-pound squat guy, so his lower body is in tremendous shape. People talked about the fact that he only did 22 reps on the bench. If you watch his play, you know he's a very strong, massive player. Probably played a little bit heavier than he will play here at the Cowboys. He played at around 340, 338, 340, 335, whatever. He'll probably play around 320 plus, 327, 328, I don't know. But a couple things about his physique is he's a mauler. He is a drive blocker. He keeps the quarterback clean. Rarely do I see him on the ground unless he's initiating by low blocking somebody on the ground. So no one beats this guy straight up. And that's the key to why the Cowboys drafted this kid. I believe that they saw too many plays where our center/guard, whether it was Costa, whether it was Cook, whether it was Living, whether it was Bernardo, rarely Bernardo, but whether it was him, we're getting driven directly back into the lap of Tony Romo, which is the reason he can't follow through on some throws. And, Tony's not one of those guys that that you worry about with the edge blitz. You worry more about the blitz coming, from the center, from the A-gap. So this pick I understand the importance of this pick, and I understand, and I now see what the Dallas Cowboys saw with that pick. I've been watching tape since last night up until about 8 o'clock, maybe 7 or 8 o'clock was when I shut it down and stopped watching it and started living, because I've been doing this draft stuff for a whole week, nonstop, going hard with the film and all the film work, and presentation and all these other things. So this kid can be a player. Now, the question or the controversy came, would he have been a third round pick? Absolutely not. Could the Cowboys have gotten him in a second? Maybe. Possibly. But, like I said earlier, no one thought that the big offensive linemen were going to go as early, except me. I knew it. Here, on the Boot Sports Show, we talked about it. No one knew that the offensive linemen were going to run like that. And when they started running, panic sets in. That's how people end up with picks. We had to make a decision. The Cowboys didn't think he'd be there. They heard, there was some feedback online that the Baltimore Ravens would have selected this kid at their pick, which was one pick behind us. So the Cowboys obviously liked him. They passed on some good players. They could have had Sharif Floyd. I don't think they like Sharif Floyd, and you can't kill him. All you Sharif Floyd lovers out there, all you guys that love him, and he was rated highly on everybody's mock draft. I get it, but a lot of teams with need passed on that kid. That kid slid down the board for a reason. Guys, when you talk about guys sliding down the board, it's different than being picked later than the people. This guy is a guy who everybody thought was a top 2-3 player. Slipped down, way past us. Well, past us. So Cowboys wanted him, they could have got him. All these Eric Reed lovers, if Cowboys wanted Eric Reed, they could have took him right there. They didn't want him. And they had second round grades on these guys, on some of these guys that were picked below them. So you can't blame them for taking a player that they might have had at the second or third round the second round with maybe the second or third pick, you can't get mad at him for taking him. Jerry Jones also brought up a good point. If we take him in the second round too, then it's a 4-year agreement versus a 5-year, and that 5th year could be important for us, especially financially, as strapped as we are with money. So I'm not mad at the Cowboys for this pick. I actually like it. I think I think you'll see it early that this kid does. When you see this kid, he don't get pushed around at all. And I hate to do the comparison thing, but our offensive line coach Bill Callahan, when he watches the tape of this kid, he sees Mangold, and that's what he kept saying. He was in their ear. Trust me, if you get this kid, this kid is gonna definitely help out. So I like the kid. I like how he gets to the second level. He's not the most athletic guy, evidenced by his 5.5 40 he ran, which I think is the slowest in the history of 40s. But he said he could have ran it better. He could have. He's a guy that's a big guy. He's not going to be out there running 40s, but he's an explosive, powerful dude. Pulling is not going to be the greatest thing from him, but he'll get out there and he'll make people miss tackles because they don't want to run into this guy. So you're going to like him. I think so. The Gavin Escobar pick, which was in the second round, the 15th pick, that was my controversial pick. Okay, so that pick I wasn't jumping up and down with, and I'm going to tell you why. Because we have a Hall of Fame, perennial Pro Bowl tight end in Jason Witten, and yeah, he's not a spring chicken. I think he's a 10-year veteran now, so you will start to see some declining. And tight ends can play a long time in the league, so he could still have a good 7 or 8 years left. It's not out of question when you look at a guy like Tony Gonzalez. And Jason Witten's barely been hurt, so... but after listening to the press conference and listening to Jerry Jones and very little of Jason Garrett, because it seemed like, if you notice, Jerry Jones was doing all the talking. But these guys... this guy here, who is a very imposing man. I mean, you're talking 6'6", 250 pounds, who's going to grow, probably end up being a 260-pound player with awesome, remarkable hands. Not the fastest guy in the world, but ran a 4.8 40. Remarkable hands, goes up and gets the ball. He doesn't have to be fast with what the Cowboys are going to ask him to do. Now, the Cowboys want to integrate more, and this is some of the fans' fault. Okay, not the fault, but this is what the fans have been demanding. Well, we need to be more creative on offense. We need to have more versatility. We need more red zone scoring. Well, guess what? This kid's going to give you that. He's going to be on the field at the expense of probably Lawrence Vickers, your fullback. He's going to be on the field more because he's a better play, and you want your best guys out there on the field. So you take the fullback off the field and you put Gavin Escobar, a 6'6" guy who can do intermediate and some deep red zone things. So some deep things in the red zone. So the Cowboys select this kid. It gives us another dimension on offense. When you come out 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers, that tight end can be flexed, and teams will be in heavy linebacker. They'll be in their base. Now you move this kid on the edge, just one flex, move him to the slot, and then all of a sudden you're talking about well, what linebacker is going to cover him, or is the safety going to come down and cover him? And that's a mismatch no matter who's covering him. So, and are the Cowboys running the ball? Because most 2 tight end sets are run formations. So I'm sure they want to try to do some of the things. They'll emulate some of the things that the Patriots are doing with the 2 tight end set. My only problem was the Cowboys went there before. So been there, done that. We did it with Anthony Fasano, the tight end from Notre Dame. And we did it with Martellus Bennett, the tight end from Texas A&M that we drafted. And these were young, very good-looking players. And we tried that 2 tight ends, and for some reason, it never seemed to pay the dividends that we thought it would. Now, you can all blame Martellus Bennett if you want and say this kid was a knucklehead and he was this and he dropped a lot of passes. That's still not a reason. There's knuckleheads out there. And by the way, Martellus Bennett is no more of a knucklehead than Gronkowski is for the Patriots. So now he's not the player he is, but he's not anything more of a knucklehead than that. So this didn't work. It didn't cause mismatches. It didn't strike fear into defenses, this formation. We tried it twice. So I was a little skeptical, but I will say this kid is a lot better than Martellus Bennett was coming out of school as far as being an imposing pass catcher. Now, he's not the blocker, but he damn sure tries. He tries. I watched everything you can find on this kid. He gives an effort. He went out and made plays against Michigan. He went out and made plays against Boise. I mean, this kid made plays against some good teams and some good players. You know, he did struggle in the blocking game, but he gives it his all. You know, he's not. I'm sure his body will grow into it. Jason Witten was not the best blocker coming out of Tennessee. He wasn't. So he grew into that, and he grew into it quickly because he had the frame and he was a gritty player. So we'll see if this Gavin Escobar player, if the Cowboys, if Jason Garrett, or even Bill Callahan, because who knows who's calling the plays, nobody still knows that. If either one of them can get this two tight end set to work, that's another dimension. That's another mixing up the plays. That's who are the Cowboys this week? Are they the two tight end set? Or are they going to run out, you know, my next pick, the third round in the 12th pick, which was from Baylor, Terrence Williams, who, if you've seen anything on this kid, you got to be giddy. This wide receiver from Baylor, I mean, I don't know how the heck this kid is a third-round pick. If you're going to tell me that Keenan Lewis was supposed to be a first-round pick from Cal, the wide receiver, if you're gonna, and I'm a big Cordero Patterson fan from Tennessee. I'm a big Cordero Patterson. I'm a big fan of his. I'm a Tennessee fan. But if you're going to tell me that kid is a first-round pick, needs to be traded up to go get in the first round, this kid's got to at least be a first round grade, fall into the second. He's got to be one of them guys because this kid is a production type player. Now, I'm going to tell you what I love about this kid is his, and I mean, he does a lot of things well. He's open, you know, he toe taps. He gets both feet down no matter what the situation. This kid's toe tap is amazing. High balls. This guy's got the bottoms. I mean, this guy's got it. He's got the footwork. He's a savvy wide receiver. He catches in traffic. He runs very, very decent routes. He will be a very strong player. And he'll force Miles Austin probably at some point into that slot role where he's better at. You know, and you'd like to see, think about it, you'd like to see Miles Austin on somebody's third corner, you know? So this pick was and by the way, this pick was courtesy of the trade down. So not only did you get Travis Frederick with the first round pick, you also got a kid, Terrence Williams, who had 1,800 plus yards, 97 catches, you know, and was, you know, a finalist for the Naismith. So this is a productive player who probably is going to come in right away and be an impact player. So this is a good pick. I like this pick. Your next pick and third round pick, number 18, the 18th pick in the third round was JJ Wilcox from Georgia Southern. A lot of us, now I got to give Brian Broaddus from the DallasCowboys.com, I got to give him a lot of credit because he was all over this kid. I mean, you guys all, if you've been listening to DallasCowboys.com, he's been all over JJ Wilcox. I mean, he's been saying if you don't get a guy like Vaccaro, you know, you can get a guy like Wilcox. So this is a good player. This is a player that I don't know if he can play right away because he went to Georgia Southern. We got to be fair. But if the Cowboys coaching staff, and this is going to, a lot of these players are going to involve coaching. And I'm tired of the fans or people in the media saying, well, this guy's not ready now. You know what? This coaches got to take responsibility for developing some of these guys. They got to develop some of these guys and show that they're the coaches that we're paying them to be. I mean, JJ Wilcox looks like a fantastic player. Came in as a running back, wide receiver, played return specialist. This guy does it all, and he lays a lick. And he's an athletic kid back there. So, is he a little bit of a project? Absolutely. He's a project type kid. But he definitely shows some of the, he shows that he has the ability to go out and get the job done. So, JJ Wilcox, looks like a player who's going to challenge Matt Johnson, who I believe in, by the way. Just want to throw that out there. I think Matt Johnson could be a good player for us. But he's going to go out there and make our team better. He's going to fortify that safety position. And you know what it also does? Let's say Barry Church comes back and maybe he is injury prone. He has a short career. We don't know if this guy's an injury prone player. And maybe he's nicked up. Maybe he's not 100%. Maybe he's 2 steps late on every play because of the injury that he had. Well, now you got a guy, Wilcox, who can come out there, and he doesn't look overwhelmed out there. Now, granted, Georgia Southern didn't play against the greatest competition in the world. But, like I said, you go back and watch some of the Senior Bowl, you watch some of this film, and this kid jumps out at you. So, and he lays a lick on you. I'm telling you, this is a kid that lays a lick. And, you know, he does it the right way. He's not a guy, what I worried about, you know, people said, well, we could have took Ed Reed at the 18th spot. Man, a lot of his highlight plays, man, are flags in the National Football League. And I mean, they are of the 15-yard variety. And you can't win with a guy making plays like that, knocking people out. And so it's got to be done the right way. JJ Wilcox does it the right way. So, getting down to the 4th round, we took cornerback, a defensive back, BW Webb from William and Mary, another small school project, 17th pick in that 4th round. This kid, when you watch him, he's a small player. He's a very small player, but he doesn't play small, but he's a small player. He's got a little bit of, first of all, he makes plays. He catches, he intercepts the ball. I think he had double-digit interceptions his freshman year, and then people stopped throwing the ball at him. But even when you watched him in the Senior Bowl, you watched him, you know, he's a specimen. You know, he's not the biggest player in the world. You know, he's going to be about 5'10", 185 pounds. He'll probably get closer to 190, maybe 192 around there. The Cowboys they're going to want to put weight on this guy. But exceptional hands. You're talking about a guy with exceptional hands. And when the ball's near him, he's getting the ball. He's going to make an athletic play and get the ball. So he's a nickel guy, so he's a lot of quick twitch. This kid is a quick twitcher. He's also a good return specialist. He can be your return guy. You know, he's a very dynamic player. Probably, and I don't want to go crazy, but in the mold of a Pac-Man Jones, you know, in the sense of when the ball's near him, you know, primetime Pac-Man too, and his return game, you know, his size, his stature. But this kid could be a very good nickel player. Probably will spell the end at some point, maybe next year, the year after, maybe possibly this year, who knows. But at some point, he's going to spell Scandrick. You'll start seeing this kid integrated more. But this kid, BW Webb, is a good player. So, moving forward, Joe Randle, the kid we selected, the running back from Oklahoma State in the 5th round with the 18th pick. If you're talking about a DeMarco Murray clone, this kid is it. This kid is a very productive player at Oak State. I mean, he's going to finish 3 or 4 all-time at Oklahoma State. And we know the kind of players they had there. Barry Sanders, you know, Thurman Thomas. I mean, they had some good running backs there. This kid is a very, very good player. Runs hard, very physical. Looks very similar to DeMarco Murray. Very similar. And he looked similar to him coming out, especially because DeMarco, when he came into the league, became a lot more physical than I even saw at Oklahoma. This kid looks like that DeMarco. Now he can develop into the DeMarco now who looks like he'll just take your head off and put his helmet down and just run you over now. But this kid is very good. Probably better hands than DeMarco, especially on those swing routes and a lot of those plays. He just plucks the ball out the air. Made fantastic plays against fantastic competition. Oklahoma. I mean, this kid ran all over everybody. Go back and watch the play he does on Kenny Vaccaro in Texas when he got Kenny Vaccaro in the hole. Kenny Vaccaro can come out and make the hit. He puts a double move on Kenny Vaccaro, and all he thinks Kenny Vaccaro touches is the ground when he makes him go right to the ground and he scores a touchdown on the play. This kid is the pick. Now I gotta admit, I liked Andre Ellington. I like Jonathan Franklin. You know, I like Monty Ball from Wisconsin. I liked a lot of those running backs. This kid looks like the fit, and I think the Cowboys got the guy they really wanted here. So this is a good player. You're talking about a 6-foot player, okay? You're talking about 200 pounds. Probably will play around 208, 209 when he's got his NFL body together. This is a big, physical running back, catches the ball well. So there's no drop off when DeMarco Murray goes down. There's no drop off like there was with Tanner and Dunbar. I mean, this guy can come in, run the same exact plays, give the same play. Now he'll have to prove that he can be effective in run blitz, picking up the blitz for, protecting Tony Romo, as all young running backs have to prove that. But this kid's going to be a good player. I can't wait to see our preseason, games with some of these stars out there, some of these guys, no pun intended. I like to see that. These players are going to be dynamic. So the last pick in the 6th round, the 17th pick, went to Devontae Holloman from South Carolina, linebacker. This kid was a safety that they converted to linebacker. And he looks like a safety playing linebacker. I mean, he's got hands. He's turning the ball over. I mean, he stripping players. He looks athletic. And this is a guy, people will bring up the fact that 2 years ago he had a DWI or DUI. But Cowboys did their research on it and felt that they didn't feel it would be a problem. So, they got all the guys out there studying these players. They felt that wouldn't be a problem. The kid said that is not anything they'll need to worry about with me. Of course, they're all going to say it, but the kid looks like a good player. The one thing, just given my listening to all the conferences, listening to all the calls when a team called, they all sound intelligent. I mean, none of these marble mouth talking fools that you hear on TV, they all sound smart players. And I know smart players don't always win football games, but at least I don't have to worry about these guys, being dumb players and not understanding. They all seem like they understand. You want to talk about a good interview? Go listen to your new starting corner / guard. Listen to this guy talk. I mean, this kid is brilliant. He's a great speaker, a great talker. I know nobody talks on the field, but I'm just saying, when you're starting to look at some of these players and you're asking them questions and they're responding with what do voluntary mean, and you get guys like, Andre Gerard, who always seemed like he just couldn't pick up certain things. One of the things, going back to Travis Frederick, the center that we drafted from Wisconsin, never missed a line call, never made a bad line call. Those are things you hear. The guy's an engineer, went to school to be an engineer. You do want bright guys playing center. You want guys that can recognize personnel packages and make the right calls, that can recognize the blitz, that can see where the extra heat is coming from and protect Tony. And so, these guys are dynamic players to me, and I wanted that, and I think we got that. When you talk about Gavin Escobar and Terrence Williams, you're talking about guys that have awesome hands and get open. And they do. I mean, these guys don't have the greatest speed, but they get open. You don't have to be a fast guy to get open. I mean, the Raiders drafted a whole bunch of fast guys that run down the field and don't get open. So that speed isn't everything. So you're looking at a really good team. Our team got physical. I mean, there's a lot of violence in this draft here. A lot of it. Our team got physical. They're not going to be pushed around. And I just think you got a lot of options. If the Cowboys hit with this Gavin Escobar pick and this kid ends up being a good 2 tight end set guy, I mean, I think I really think you're I think you're on to something. I mean, you got a bunch of options in the red zone, and that's what the Cowboys' biggest struggles have been: turnovers in red zone. So you got to give them credit for what they've done. There was a couple. Switching gears a little bit, there were a couple other moves that were interesting to me that were made. The New York Giants, the 3rd round, selected Damontre Moore, and he's one of those guys that you could have almost penciled him being there because he looks the part. And if they get the player, remember just a month ago, Damontre Moore was the 2nd pick overall. So if they get that player, here we go again. Another elite pass rusher added to the Giants, and everybody could have done something about it. Nobody did it. And I'm trying to just keep it in the division a little bit. Another intriguing player is with the Eagles, selecting the quarterback from USC, Matt Barkley, and kind of caught everybody off guard a little bit because most people assumed Dennis Dixon was a quarterback of his, and there'd be a lot more running type quarterbacks, a lot more zone read type quarterbacks. So it was a little caught people off guard. And I believe they nabbed the player that the Oakland Raiders wanted. That's why they traded up ahead of him. And then right after that, the Raiders selected Travis Wilson. But, you go back and you think that this kid, the Eagles could have captured lightning in a bottle here with this kid, because he slipped to the 4th round. And I know for a fact, you all know, he would have been a first-round pick, top 10 pick possibly, had he gone his junior year and not gone back for his senior year. So all you people that say stay for your senior year and get your degree and all that stuff, which is absolutely out of it's crazy. You can get your degree whenever you want after you go into the league. What if it doesn't work out in the NFL? I always hear people say that. What if it doesn't work out in the National Football League and you don't have a degree? Well, guess what? You made $2-3 million. Go back to school and finish up. What's the problem with that? So, I'm not big on go to school and finish it up. Get out and get your money, and then you can always go back to school later. So, when you're thinking about some of the, Eagles picking up Lane Johnson, you can see, Chip Kelly's inflection on the league, what he's trying to do, getting some speed, getting some athleticism. I'm glad we don't have to try to block Deion Jordan for the next 10 years. So that's good. Lane Johnson is another boomer bust player. Didn't have a lot of experience playing tackle. I watched him at the Senior Bowl. He was athletic at the Senior Bowl, so he did make some plays there. So he's a pretty good player. Looks like he'll be a good player, but, that might not work out. So you never know. But just going around, I think I saw Andre. No, I didn't see Andre Ellington. I saw a really good back. I thought that I liked going to the Redskins. Can't remember it off the top of my head now, but so the division looks like it's definitely gotten better. But if you look around the league, man, so have everybody else, man. I mean, you could have gotten better, but are you better than last year? Well, who knows? You might not be better because everybody else made improvements. You look at the Carolina Panthers; they grabbed 2 defensive tackles, 2 dominant players. I look at the Jets. They grab they're not that they're going to be a threat, but they grab the player that we like, Sheldon Richardson here, who's to me is a fantastic player. So, some of these teams have really gotten better. We hope that the Cowboys invested and got better as well. Our schedule looks like it can be a little forgiving as opposed to what it's looked like the last few years. So we might be able to get some wins out of this thing if we can keep Tony upright. And I think that's what the Cowboys' goal was. Let's give Tony weapons. I mean, this was the Romo-friendly draft. Let's make sure he has options. If we had these options against the Redskins, I said this before, if we had Terrence Williams, if we had Gavin Escobar, if we had Travis Frederick, had we had these guys last year, when Miles Austin and Dez Bryant went down, you wouldn't have had to have a 5'7" Cole Beasley out there trying to catch passes, making big plays. Maybe you have another big body to go up and get the ball in the Baltimore Ravens game and come down with the win, or you have somebody to take the double team off of Witten every play or Dez every play. So these players could have helped us. Could you imagine if you had Terrence Williams coming in, off the bench, when Dez went down or Miles went down, to come get a first down for us? Travis Frederick blocking up the middle, protecting Tony. So this is going to be very, very key. Cowboys going to have to do a lot with this. I think they're going to have at least every single last one of these players, maybe minus Devontae Holloman, are going to be very, they're going to play a lot. Now, to wrap things up, the Cowboys also, with free agency, the free agent portion of the draft, because that's also another big part of it, and the Cowboys generally do very well. The Cowboys selected Brandon McGee, outside linebacker from Arizona State. That kid jumps off the film. So you want to watch a player, go look that guy up. He'll make the 53. And Tank Reed, outside linebacker from SMU. So another player who I think, that those are the 2 players that I highlighted I think will have a best chance of making this team and even making some plays. So one thing that you noticed, the Cowboys didn't address defense, their defensive front, and they got to be right on this, because if you're telling me that this, now I know we're getting back a lot of players that were hurt, but if you're telling me that this team is okay up front, then they're gonna have to show it. I like Brian Price. I told you about him maybe 7 or 8 shows ago, or maybe even 10 shows ago. I told you that this kid Brian Price, 2nd round draft pick from UCLA, Cowboys got him. If he can come in and contribute, then you might not have needed to jump right away early and get that defensive tackle in the first round. And remember, that's what they're comparing these guys, Floyd, to. You guys, I know some of you are upset about Floyd. You're comparing him to what you already have on the roster. Is he going to beat out a Jay Ratliff? No. Is he going to beat out, like the kid from Hampton that we have, that we drafted? No. He's not going to beat out Sean Leesamore. He's not going to beat out, some of these guys that we have, maybe even Brian Price. So you gotta be careful when you draft a defensive tackle that might not even be active, or maybe a situational player. The team knows what we need, and they've been doing a really good job with this. So let's just hope these guys can stay healthy, and they can protect Tony and keep Tony upright, who gives you your best chance to win games. So I'm your host, Uncle Boots. I'm going to end it with this. Mini camps in a couple weeks. I can't wait to see some of these guys out there. We got to take advantage of this schedule. We got to take advantage of these players. And I'm really rooting for Travis Frederick so he can prove a lot of these guys that never looked at him on film just because they didn't have him in their mock draft in the first round. I'm really rooting for that kid. And you can't find an error. I'm telling you, you go look. You might find one. But you're not going to find this kid being abused at all. So nobody abuses him. So be interesting to see how that parlays into the real NFL with this kid. Once again, guys, thanks for tuning in. Definitely like my show. Click the like button, the thumbs up button, or subscribe. I'll be doing some more things after minicamp. Please, thank you for tuning in, and continue to support the Cowboys, Cowboy Nation. I'm out of here.